I can frame anyone and bribe a judge to fast the sentencing for a good price.
Help! Help him, he's choking! Somebody help us, please. You are hereby sentenced to death by hanging for the murder of Chief Obi.
Hello guys, welcome to Africantales by Zion. Here is another epic story of sibling betrayal, where a desperate brother made a deal with a corrupt cop, poisoned his father's best friend, and let his innocent sister take the blame and face execution. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, share it with your friends, and most importantly turn on the notification bell so you can get informed when I drop another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. Do you think the truth will come out before it's too late? Let's dive in. The rain fell in sheets over Lagos as mourners gathered at the Okafor family compound in Banana Island. Chief Emeka Okafor's casket, draped in Nigerian colors, sat at the front of the massive white tent erected for the funeral. 5 years ago, on this humid September day, the patriarch of one of Nigeria's wealthiest families was being laid to rest. Adiz Okafor stood beside her brother Chikwudi, both dressed in traditional black. She was 23, fresh from Harvard Law School, her eyes red from crying. At 27, Chikwudi was the older sibling, tall, handsome, charming to everyone who offered condolences. But his eyes were dry. Your father was a great man, people kept saying. He built an empire from nothing. That empire was worth 60 billion naira. Oil investments, real estate across Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, shopping complexes, office towers. Chief Okafor had been a titan. After the burial, the family gathered in the main house for the will reading. The lawyer, Barrister Adelik, adjusted his glasses and read the document. To my beloved daughter Adiz, I leave 50% of my estate, totaling 30 billion naira. Adiz gasped softly. 30 billion. The number was incomprehensible. To my beloved son Chikwudi, I leave 50% of my estate, totaling 30 billion naira. Chikwudi nodded. Equal shares. Fair. Their father had been just, even in death. Your father wanted you both to have equal opportunities to build upon his legacy. Barrister Adelik said. He believed in both of you. After everyone left, Adiz hugged her brother. We'll make him proud. Chukwu. Together. Together, he agreed, embracing her. Neither of them knew that within 4 years, one of them would be on death row, and the other would be the reason why. Year 1, the diverging paths. Adiz approached her inheritance with the same discipline that had earned her a Harvard degree. She hired financial advisors, studied the real estate market, and expanded the family portfolio. She bought property in Lekki Phase 1, prime land in Abuja, and beachfront in Calabar. She also started her own law firm, Okafor Legal Consulting. Within 6 months, she was representing multinational corporations, handling contracts worth billions. The firm brought in 2 billion naira in fees the first year alone. She lived modestly in a 3-bedroom house in Victoria Island. She drove a Mercedes E-Class, nice but not ostentatious. She reinvested almost everything back into the businesses. By the end of year 1, her 30 billion had grown to 33 billion. Chikwudi took a different approach. He bought a penthouse in Banana Island for 800 million naira, all glass and marble, with a view of the Lagos Lagoon. He purchased 5 luxury cars, a Lamborghini Aventador, a Bentley Continental, a Rolls-Royce Phantom, a Range Rover, and a Ferrari 488. The cars alone cost 2 billion naira. Every weekend, his penthouse hosted parties that Lagos socialites talked about for weeks. Cases of Dom Perignon, live performances from Afrobeat stars, Instagram models, and beauty queens draped over his furniture. Chikwudi knows how to enjoy life, people said at his parties. What they didn't see was the money bleeding away. 5 billion naira spent in year 1 alone. His 30 billion became 25 billion. Year 2, success and excess. Adiz's business empire flourished. Her real estate investments appreciated as Lagos property values soared. Her law firm expanded to Ghana and South Africa, employing 200 people. She was invited to speak at African business conferences. Forbes Africa named her one of 30 under 30 rising entrepreneurs. Her $33 billion grew to $38 billion. Chikwudi, meanwhile, met a friend who claimed to have insider knowledge about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is the future. Guy, invest big, make bigger. Chikwudi invested 8 billion naira into what turned out to be an elaborate Ponzi scheme. Within 6 months, the company vanished. 8 billion naira gone. He started gambling to recover his losses. Lagos casinos first, then trips to Dubai. He'd bet millions on a single hand of blackjack, convinced his luck was about to turn. It never did. He lost 4 billion gambling that year. Spent another 3 billion maintaining his lavish lifestyle. Trips to Monaco, designer clothes, maintaining his fleet of cars. His 25 billion became 10 billion. At family gatherings, people started comparing them. Adiz is so brilliant, just like her father. Why can't Chikwudi be more responsible? Their mother, before she died that year, pulled him aside at Christmas. Your father will be disappointed. Chikwudi, your sister is building. You're destroying. Those words cut deeper than any knife. Year 3, the shame spiral. By year 3, Chikwidi's financial situation had become desperate. He'd made another disastrous investment, purchasing what he thought was beachfront property in Lekki, only to discover it was swampland. 2 billion naira wasted. He started borrowing money to maintain appearances, first from banks, using his remaining assets as collateral. Then, when banks wouldn't lend anymore, from loan sharks. He borrowed 3 billion naira at 50% annual interest. The debt would balloon to 4.5 billion if he didn't pay within a year. But gambling addiction doesn't care about mathematics. He gambled away another 2 billion, convinced that one big win would solve everything. His 10 billion became 3 billion in assets, and he owed 4.5 billion. Adiz's business continued to thrive. 42 billion naira. She was now wealthier than their father had been. The comparisons became unbearable. Your sister is a genius. Chikwudi is an embarrassment to the Okafor name. How did 2 children from the same father turn out so differently? He stopped attending family events, stopped answering Adiz's calls. The shame was suffocating. Year 4, the breaking point. The loan sharks came to his penthouse at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. 4 large men. One held a machete. You owe us 7 billion naira, Oga Chikwudi, their leader said calmly. Original 3 billion plus interest, plus the additional 4 billion you borrowed last year when you said you'd pay us back double. I need more time. You had time. We gave you 3 years. Now we give you 30 days. Pay 7 billion naira or we kill you. The man smiled without warmth. And before we kill you, we'll kill your sister. Make sure the Okafor line ends with blood. After they left, Chikwudi sat in his penthouse, hands trembling. 7 billion naira in 30 days. He had 3 billion in assets, the penthouse, the cars, some stocks. Even if he liquidated everything, he'd still be 4 billion short. There was only one person in his life with that kind of money, Adiz. But how could he ask her? How could he face her and admit he'd squandered everything? She'd judge him. Everyone would know he was a failure. That's when the dark thought first emerged. If Adiz died, he would inherit her estate as her only living sibling. Their mother had passed away 2 years ago. No other family remained. 42 billion naira would become his. He could pay off the 7 billion in debt and still have 35 billion left. He could start over. No more comparisons. No more shame. But how? He couldn't just kill her directly. He'd be the obvious suspect. The broke brother who suddenly inherits billions after his wealthy sister's convenient death. The police would arrest him within hours. He spent a week considering different scenarios. Hiring someone to make it look like a robbery? Too risky. Professional hitmen could betray you. Stage an accident? Too difficult to guarantee she'd die, and not just end up injured. Poison? Same problem as direct murder. He'd be suspected immediately. Then, one evening, drowning his despair in whiskey at a bar in Victoria Island, the solution walked in wearing a police uniform. The officer sat beside him at the bar. You look like a man with serious problems. Chikwudi looked up. You have no idea. I'm Tund, the officer said. I saw problems. For the right price. And in that moment, drunk and desperate, Chikwudi made the choice that would destroy both their lives. What if I told you I needed someone to die? Chikwudi said slowly. But I couldn't be the one to kill them? Tund smiled. Then I'd say you're talking to the right person. But he signaled the bartender for another round. Direct killing is messy. Too many questions. Too much risk. Then what do you suggest? What if your target didn't die by your hand? What if they died legally? Officially? Chikwudi frowned. I don't understand. What if they committed a crime? A serious crime? Murder, maybe? And what if they were caught, tried, and executed for that crime? The idea hit Chikwudi like electricity. Frame Adiz for murder. Let the Nigerian justice system do what he couldn't. She'd die legally, officially, and he'd inherit everything. No suspicion on him. He'd be the grieving brother, the last of the Okafor children. You can do that? Chikwudi asked. Frame someone for murder? For the right price, Tund said. I can frame anyone for anything. How much? 50 million now. 50 million after successful conviction. Plus costs for witnesses, bribes. Call it 145 million total. Chikwidi's mind raced. He could liquidate some assets quickly. Get 50 million for the upfront payment. Once Adiz was convicted and he inherited her billions, the rest would be easy. I'll do it, he said. They shook hands. A devil's bargain. Sealed over whiskey in a Victoria Island bar. But we need to choose a victim carefully, Tund said. Can't be random. Needs to be someone connected to your sister. Someone whose death she'd have motive to cause. Chikwudi thought for a moment. Then the perfect target came to mind. Chief Obi said, my father's best friend. He's like an uncle to us. He's the executor of our father's estate. Tund nodded slowly. Good. Respected elder. Close family connection. If he's killed, they'll look at family first. We make it look like a business dispute. Your sister wanted something he controlled. He refused. She eliminated him. When do we start? Give me 2 weeks to set everything up. Witnesses. The judge. Evidence planning procedures. Then we execute. Chikwudi finishes whiskey. 2 weeks. And Tund? This has to work. If it doesn't, I'm dead anyway. It'll work, Tund assured him. I've done this before. That night, Chikwudi returned to his penthouse and stared at a family photo. Him, Adiz, their parents, taken years ago when everyone was happy and alive and whole. I'm sorry, Ada, he whispered to the photo, but it's you or me, and I choose me. He had 28 days until the loan shark's deadline, and his sister had no idea her own brother was planning her death. She was a responsible one, and he wasted billions. Now he's drowning in 7 billion naira debt. If you're already hooked, smash that like button and subscribe to Africantales by Zion. Drop a comment. Is jealousy the worst kind of poison? The next chapter shows his evil plan and how he's going to destroy his own sister. Share this video. Turn on notifications. The bar in Victoria Island was half empty, the kind of place where people came to disappear into their problems. Chikwudi and Tund moved to a corner booth, away from the bartender's ears. First thing you need to understand, Tund said, ordering another round of whiskey, is that framing someone for murder isn't simple. It requires precision, planning, and money. I have money, Chikwudi lied. He had assets he could liquidate quickly. Good, because this is how it works. Tund leaned forward. We need a victim. You mentioned Chief Obi, your father's best friend. Tell me about him. Chikwudi took a long drink. Chief Obi is 68. Wealthy. Respected elder. He was my father's business partner for 30 years. When my father died, Chief Obi became the executor of the estate. He checks on me and my sister regularly, making sure we're honoring father's legacy. Does he have family? Wife died 5 years ago. No children. He treats me and Ada like his own kids. Tund smiled coldly. Perfect. A respected elder with no direct heirs. His murder will demand justice. Death penalty justice. How do we make it look like Ada did it? We create motive, means, and opportunity. The three pillars of any murder conviction. Tun pulled out a small notebook. Motive. We'll say your sister wanted control of assets Chief Obi managed as executor. She pressured him. He refused. She eliminated him. But that's not true. Ada has never had issues with Uncle Obi. Doesn't matter. We'll create witnesses who'll testify they heard arguments. I know people who'll say anything for the right price. Chikwudi felt sick, but nodded. What about means? Tund reached into his jacket and placed a small vial on the table. Clear liquid. Cyanide. Fast, painful, unmistakable. You'll poison his drink. I'll make sure this exact type of cyanide is found in your sister's apartment. How will you get into her apartment? You'll provide access. Keys, security codes, whatever I need. Chikwudi thought about the lunch he'd have with the D's. Getting her keys would be easy. I can do that. Good. Now, opportunity. Where does your sister work? She has a law firm in Victoria Island. Okafor Legal Consulting. She's there every day until late. And Chief Obi, would he visit her office? If I asked him to, yes, he'd do anything for our family. Tun made notes in his book. Here's the plan. You'll invite Chief Obi to meet at a restaurant near your sister's office. I'll arrange for your sister to have been there earlier that day. Maybe she served him tea in her office, leaves her fingerprints on cups and glasses. Then you have dinner with him at the restaurant. You poison his drink. He dies. We plant the cyanide in her apartment along with more evidence. The fingerprints connect her. The planted cyanide proves means. The fake witnesses provide motive. She's convicted and executed. What's your role in all this? I'll be one of the investigating officers. I'll make sure evidence is discovered properly. I'll arrange for the right judge, someone who can be convinced to rule a certain way. I'll coach the witnesses. And I'll make sure your sister's defense is ineffective. How much of this has to be paid up front? $50 million now. That covers my initial work and the cyanide. Another $95 million after conviction. 50 for me, 30 for the judge, 15 for 3 witnesses at $5 million each. Chikwudi did the math. He had about $8 billion in assets left, his penthouse cars, some stocks. He could sell one car and some jewelry quickly. $50 million was painful but possible. I'll have the $50 million in 3 days. Good. Meanwhile, start building your cover story. You need to look like the caring brother. Visit your sister. Be supportive. Make sure people see you together. When she's arrested, your shock needs to be genuine to outsiders. Over the next 2 weeks, Chikwudi executed his part of the plan with methodical precision. Day 3, getting Ada's keys. Chikwudi called his sister for the first time in 3 months. Ada, can we have lunch? I miss you. Adi's joy was immediate and heartbreaking. Chukwu, of course. I've been so worried about you. They met at a restaurant in Ikoyi. Adi's hugged him tightly. Where have you been? I've called so many times. I know. I'm sorry. I've been dealing with some business issues. Nothing serious, just challenging. If you need help. No. I just needed space to figure things out. But I'm doing better now. I wanted to apologize for being distant. During lunch, he played a reformed brother perfectly, talking about making better choices, being more responsible, learning from his mistakes. When Adiz went to the bathroom, Chikwudi opened her purse. He used his phone to photograph her office key and apartment key from multiple angles. He'd have copies made. He also took a clean teacup from her office kitchen that she'd touched, wrapping it in a napkin. Thank you for lunch, Adiz said when they finished, hugging him again. I love you, brother. We'll get through anything together. I love you too, Ada, he said, hating how easy the lie came. Day 5, liquidating assets. Chikwudi sold his Lamborghini for 40 million naira, far below its value, but quick. He sold his Rolex collection for another 15 million. He paid Tun the 50 million up front. Tun provided the cyanide and detailed instructions. 3 drops in his drink. No more, no less. Too little and he survives and talks. Too much, and it's obvious someone with medical knowledge did it. 3 drops looks like amateur poisoning, which is what we want. Day 7, testing. Chakwoody couldn't bring himself to test it on a person, but he needed to know it worked. Late at night, he found a stray dog near his building. A skinny, friendly thing that wagged its tail when he approached. He put 1 drop of cyanide in water in a bowl. The dog drank eagerly, then within 2 minutes began convulsing. Foam formed at its mouth. It died quickly, violently. Chakwoody vomited in the bushes afterward. He was really going to do this. Kill an innocent man. Frame his innocent sister. But the loan shark's deadline was 18 days away. He had no choice. Day 10. Setting up Chief Obi. Chakwoody called Chief Obi. Uncle, I need your advice about something important. Can we meet? Of course, my boy. Is everything all right? Yes. Just some family business matters. Father's legacy. I want to discuss it with you before talking to Ada. Should Dees join us? Actually, I wanted to speak with you privately first. Get your wisdom before involving her. Thursday evening, maybe? 7 p.m.? Thursday works. Where should we meet? There's a nice restaurant near Ada's office in Victoria Island, Ember Grill. It's quiet, good for serious conversation. I'll be there. After hanging up, Chakwoody called Tund. Thursday night, Ember Grill, 7 p.m. Perfect. I'll position my witnesses. They'll happen to be nearby and hear arguments between your sister and Chief Obi earlier that week. Day 12. Planning the narrative. Tund's fake witnesses began their work. 3 people, a waitress, a security guard, a business associate. Started telling anyone who'd listened that they'd heard Adiz Okafor arguing with Chief Obi about business control. She was very aggressive, the waitress told colleagues, saying Chief Obi was blocking her from accessing her father's full estate. None of it was true, but rumors spread fast in Lagos business circles. Day 13. Final preparations. Chakwoody had keys copied from his photographs. He practiced entering Adiz's apartment. It took 2 minutes from door to bathroom cabinet where he'd plant the cyanide bottle. He got the teacup's fingerprints transferred onto the cyanide bottle by a specialist Tund recommended. 5 million naira for that service alone. Everything was ready. Day 14, the night before. Chakwoody couldn't sleep. He lay in his penthouse, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what tomorrow would bring. He pulled out old family photos, Christmas celebrations, birthday parties, his graduation, Ada's Harvard graduation, where she'd given a speech and father had cried with pride. In one photo, Chief Obi stood with their father, both men laughing, arms around each other's shoulders. Best friends for 3 decades. I'm sorry, Uncle Obi, Chakwoody whispered to the photo. You're a good man. You don't deserve this. But I'm out of options. He looked at Adiz's face in another photo, so young, so trusting, so full of hope. I'm sorry, Ada, but it's my life or yours, and I'm too much of a coward to let be mine. He checked his phone. The loan sharks had sent another message. 14 days left. Hope you're ready. Chakwoody pulled out the small vial of cyanide. Tomorrow night, he'd use it. Tomorrow night, he'd become a murderer. He considered backing out one final time. He could run away, leave Nigeria, start over somewhere else with nothing, but his pride wouldn't let him. The shame of running, of everyone knowing he'd failed, was worse than the guilt of what he was about to do. At 3 a.m., he finally slept, his dreams filled with blood and poison, and his sister's face asking him, why? Day 15, murder day morning. Chakwoody woke at 6 a.m., showered, dressed in an expensive suit, the armor of a man about to commit an unthinkable act. He put the cyanide vial in his inner jacket pocket, looked at himself in the mirror. He barely recognized the man staring back. Hollow eyes, gray skin despite his youth. This was what desperation looked like. His phone buzzed. A text from Adiz. Good morning, brother. Hope you're well. Love you. Red heart. He stared at the message for a long moment. His thumb hovered over the reply button. Then he deleted the message without responding. By tonight, she'd be arrested for murder. By next month, she'd be convicted. Within a year, she'd be executed, and he'd inherit 42 billion naira. God forgive me, Chikwudi whispered. But he knew there was no forgiveness for what he was about to do. He left his penthouse and drove toward his destiny, toward the murder of an innocent man and the destruction of his sister's life. The devil's bargain was about to be paid in blood. No, he's actually going through with it, poisoning an innocent old man who loves him. If you're horrified, smash that like button and subscribe to African Tales by Zion. Drop a comment. Can you believe he's doing this to his own sister? The next chapter shows murder day, and it's brutal. Share this video. Turn on notifications. Thursday, 7 p.m., Ember Grill Restaurant, Victoria Island. Chief Obi arrived early, as respected elders often do. He wore traditional agbada in deep blue, his gray beard neatly trimmed. At 68, he carried himself with dignity earned through decades of honorable business. He ordered water and waited at a corner table, reviewing some documents on his iPad. Always working, always thinking about the legacy his friend Chief Okafor had left behind. 7:15 p.m. Chikwudi walked in, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst through his chest. The vial of cyanide felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in his pocket. "Uncle Obi," he said, forcing a smile. "Thank you for coming." The older man stood and embraced him warmly. "Chikwudi, my boy, you look thin. Are you eating well?" "I'm fine, Uncle. Just working hard." They sat. A waiter appeared. "What will you have to drink, gentlemen?" "Brandy," Chief Obi said. "Remy Martin, if you have it. Your father and I always shared Remy Martin. Chikwudi, do you remember?" Chikwidi's throat tightened. "I remember. Uncle, make it 2 brandies." The waiter left. Chief Obi leaned forward with concern in his eyes. "Now tell me, what's troubling you? On the phone, you sounded worried about family matters." Chikwudi launched into his prepared lie. "It's about Ada. I'm concerned about some of her business decisions. She's been very aggressive lately, pushing out some of Father's old partners." Chief Obi frowned. "That doesn't sound like a D's. She's always been thoughtful, strategic. What specifically concerns you?" For 30 minutes, Chikwudi wove elaborate fabrications about Adi's supposed ruthlessness. Chief Obi listened patiently, occasionally shaking his head. "I think you're misunderstanding her intentions," the older man finally said. "Ada is protecting your father's legacy, not destroying it. Perhaps you should speak with her directly instead of worrying from a distance." The waiter brought their brandies, 2 crystal glasses filled with amber liquid. This was the moment. Chikwidi's hand trembled as he reached for his glass. "You're right, Uncle. Maybe I'm overthinking. Let's toast to Father's memory and forget my worries." To Emeka, Chief Obi raised his glass. A man who built something lasting. To Father, they drank. Well, Chief Obi drank. Chikwudi only touched the liquid to his lips. "Actually," Chikwudi said, standing suddenly, "I should order us some proper food. The menu here is excellent. Let me go to the bar and place our order myself. The service here can be slow." "Nonsense, we can—" "Please, Uncle, let me handle it. I insist." Before Chief Obi could protest further, Chikwudi took both glasses. "Let me get us refills too. We should celebrate Father properly." At the bar, Chikwudi ordered appetizers and 2 more brandies. The bartender turned to the register. Chikwidi's hand shook violently as he pulled out the small vial. 3 drops, Tund had said. No more, no less. He uncapped the vial over one of the glasses. 1 drop fell. 2, 3. He recapped it, slipped it back in his pocket. The cyanide was invisible in the amber liquid. "Here you are, sir," the bartender said, returning with a food order receipt. Chikwudi carried both glasses back, set the poisoned one in front of Chief Obi. "To better days ahead," Chikwudi said, raising his glass. "To family," Chief Obi responded, drinking deeply. They talked for 10 more minutes. Chief Obi spoke about his memories of Chikwidi's father, stories from their youth, building their businesses from nothing, the pride they felt watching their children grow. Then Chief Obi's face changed. He touched his throat. "Chikwudi, Something's not right. Uncle? Chief Obi tried to stand but stumbled. Can't breathe properly. Uncle Obi. Chikwudi jumped up, playing the panicked nephew. What's wrong? Other diners turned to look. Chief Obi grabbed the table edge, gasping, his face contorted in pain and confusion. Foam began forming at the corners of his mouth. Someone call an ambulance. Chikwudi shouted, but it was too late. Cyanide works fast on older bodies. Chief Obi convulsed once, twice. His eyes went wide with terror. Then his body went rigid, and he collapsed forward onto the table, scattering glasses and plates. Chaos erupted, people screaming, the manager rushing over, someone already on the phone with emergency services. Chikwudi knelt beside Chief Obi, checking for a pulse he knew wasn't there. Uncle, stay with me. But Chief Obi was gone, dead within 3 minutes of drinking the poison brandy. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes later. Paramedics confirmed what everyone already knew. Chief Obi was dead. Police arrived shortly after. Lagos State Police. Not Tund. He'd wisely stayed away from the initial response. But other officers who took statements. What happened here? A sergeant asked Chikwudi. I don't know. We were just having dinner. Talking about my father. He drank his brandy, and suddenly he couldn't breathe. He just collapsed. What did he drink? Brandy. Remy Martin. Same as me. Chikwudi gestured to his own glass. I'm fine, so it couldn't be the brandy itself. Police collected evidence. The glasses, the bottle, everything. They found Chikwudi's fingerprints on both glasses, expected since he'd ordered them. What they didn't know was that he'd quickly wiped his own glass clean while checking on Chief Obi's pulse, and placed Chief Obi's prints on both glasses by carefully manipulating the dead man's hands. Sir, we're very sorry for your loss, the sergeant said. Chief Obi was a respected man. We'll investigate thoroughly. Thank you. I need to tell my sister. This will destroy her. Chief Obi was like an uncle to both of us. Chikwudi left the restaurant an hour later, after all statements were taken. No suspicion on him. Just a grieving nephew who'd witnessed a beloved uncle's death. He drove straight to Adi's apartment. 10 p.m. Adiz answered her door in casual clothes, laptop in hand. She'd been working from home, reviewing contracts. Chukwu? What's wrong? You look terrible. It's Uncle Obi. Chikwudi's voice broke, genuine emotion mixing with calculated performance. He's dead, Ada. He's dead. The laptop fell from her hands. What? We were having dinner, discussing family business. He just collapsed. They think it was poison. Poison. Adiz stumbled backward. Who would poison Uncle Obi? That's insane. Chikwudi caught her, helped her to the couch. She was shaking, tears already streaming down her face. The police are investigating. I don't understand any of this. Adiz sobbed into her hands. Uncle Obi was family. He was father's best friend. Who could do such a thing? I don't know, but the police will find out. Justice will be served. Chikwudi held his sister while she cried, hating himself but committed to the plan. After 10 minutes, he stood. Let me get you some water. He went to her kitchen, filled a glass. While she cried in the living room, he slipped into her bathroom. The cyanide bottle, carefully prepared with her fingerprint from the teacup, went into her medicine cabinet, hidden behind other bottles. It took 15 seconds. He returned with the water. Here, Ada, drink this. She drank between sobs. I can't believe Uncle Obi is gone. He was just here last week, checking on us, making sure we were honoring Father's legacy. Chikwudi sat beside her, playing a supportive brother for another hour. When he finally left, he called Tund from his car. It's done. Chief Obi is dead. Evidence is planted. Good. Tund's voice was cold. Now we wait. Give it 24 hours for the autopsy results. Then the investigation really begins. Friday morning, 8 a.m., the autopsy confirmed cyanide poisoning. Police opened a formal murder investigation. Detective Tund made sure he was assigned to the case. Chief Obi was a respected community leader, he told his superiors. I'll handle this personally. He reviewed the evidence from the restaurant. Security footage showed Chikwudi and Chief Obi having dinner. But tons trained, I noticed something else. Adi's office was only 2 blocks away. We should look at everyone who had contact with Chief Obi in the days before his death. Tun suggested to the team, family members especially. The daughter, Adiz Okafor, is a lawyer, another detective noted. Very successful. Why would she kill Chief Obi? Let's find out, Tun said. Meanwhile, his paid witnesses began coming forward. A waitress from a cafe near Adiz's office. I heard Miss Okafor arguing with Chief Obi last week. Something about business control. She seemed very angry. A security guard from a building. Chief Obi visited Miss Okafor's office last Thursday. I heard raised voices through the door. A business associate. Adiz wanted full control of her father's remaining assets. Chief Obi, as executor, was blocking her. There was tension. All lies, but believable lies from seemingly credible sources. Tun brought these statements to his superior. Sir, I think we need to search Adiz Okafor's residence. There's a pattern here. Get a warrant. Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. Loud pounding on Adiz's door woke her from restless sleep. Police, open up. Confused and grieving, she opened the door in her nightgown. What's happening? Adiz Okafor, we have a warrant to search your premises in connection with the death of Chief Obi. What? Why would you search my apartment? I loved Uncle Obi, but they pushed past her. 6 officers, including Tund, who made sure he was the one to search the bathroom. He found the cyanide bottle exactly where Chikwudi had planted it. Detective, Tund called to his superior. Look at this. The bottle, with Adiz's fingerprints all over it. I've never seen that before. Adiz's face went white. That's not mine. Someone planted it. Your fingerprints are all over this bottle, Miss Okafor. That's impossible. I don't know how they got there. They also tested the brandy glasses from the restaurant. One had cyanide residue. The other, the one Chikwudi claimed was his, had traces of Adiz's fingerprints from the teacup transfer. Adiz Okafor, the lead detective said formally, you're under arrest for the murder of Chief Obi. No, this is insane. I didn't kill him. He was like family. They handcuffed her. Neighbors watched as she was led away in her nightgown, screaming her innocence. I'm innocent. Someone framed me. But no one believed her. At the police station, the evidence mounted. 3 witnesses claiming they'd heard arguments. Cyanide in her apartment. Her fingerprints on the murder weapon. Opportunity. Her office was near the restaurant. Motive. Alleged business disputes over her father's estate. The case seemed airtight. Chikwudi was called to give his statement. He cried real tears. Tears of guilt, not grief, and told police about the supposed tension between his sister and Chief Obi. I didn't want to believe it, he said, but I did hear them arguing once. Uncle Obi controlled some of Father's old investments. Ada wanted full control. He said she wasn't ready. More lies, but they sealed Adiz's fate. 3 months later, the trial. The trial was swift. The judge, bribed 30 million naira by Tund, ensured the defense was ineffective. Evidence presented. Cyanide bottle, fingerprints, witness testimony, opportunity, motive. Adiz's lawyer tried to argue framing, but with no proof of who might frame her or why. The jury didn't buy it. She's the only person with means, motive, and opportunity. The prosecutor argued. She killed Chief Obi to gain control of her father's estate. I'm innocent. Adiz screamed in court. My brother did this. I don't know how, but he's behind this. She pointed at Chikwudi in the gallery. He shook his head sadly, tears streaming down his face. Ada, please. Why are you doing this? Why are you lying? Because it's true. You're destroying me. But to everyone else, it looked like desperate deflection. The verdict came after 4 hours of deliberation. Guilty of murder. Sentence: death by hanging. Adiz collapsed, screaming. Guards carried her from the courtroom. Chikwudi watched his sister being dragged away to death row. He'd won. That night, He paid Tun the remaining 95 million naira. Now, all he had to do was wait for her execution, inherit her 42 billion, and start his life over. 3 years. That's how long appeals would take. 3 years until his sister died, and he became whole again. But as he sat in his penthouse that night, drinking champagne alone, Chikwudi couldn't shake the image of Adi's face in the courtroom. Her eyes had looked directly at him when she'd screamed his name, and in that moment, she'd known. She'd had no proof, no evidence, no way to stop it, but she'd known her brother had murdered her life. She's been on death row for 3 years for a murder she didn't commit, and he's going to watch her execution. If you're shaking with anger, smash that like button and subscribe to African Tales by Zion. Comment, is this the most evil brother in history? The next chapter shows the race against time. Can anyone save her? Share this video. Turn on notifications. Kirikiri Maximum Security Prison sat like a concrete fortress on the outskirts of Lagos, its gray walls holding Nigeria's most dangerous criminals and one innocent woman. Adiz Okafor woke in her death row cell to the sound of metal gates clanging open down the corridor. Today was the day she died. 3 years. 3 years of appeals, all rejected. 3 years of maintaining her innocence while the world called her a murderer. 3 years of knowing her brother had done this but being unable to prove it. She sat up on her thin mattress, looking around the cell she'd called home since her conviction. 8 feet by 6 feet. A toilet, a sink, walls covered with scratch marks from previous occupants, counting down their last days. Adiz Okafor, a guard called through the bars. It's time. Final shower, final meal, chaplain. She stood mechanically. At 28. She should have been building her law firm, maybe starting a family, continuing her father's legacy. Instead, she was preparing to die. The shower was cold, but she barely noticed. She couldn't eat the breakfast they brought, jollof rice and plantain, her favorite, now tasteless. At 7:30 a.m., the chaplain arrived, Father Emeka, an older priest who'd visited her weekly for 3 years. "My child," he said gently, sitting across from her in the visiting area. "Are you ready?" Does anyone ever really answer that question honestly, Father? No, I suppose not. He opened his Bible. "Would you like me to pray with you?" "Father, I didn't kill Chief Obi." "I know, child. I've always believed you." "Then why didn't God stop this? Why didn't he reveal the truth?" Father Emeka was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know, but I believe that truth has a way of emerging, even if we don't live to see it." They prayed together. Psalms 23, the Lord's Prayer, words of comfort that felt hollow when death was 4 hours away. 6 a.m., meanwhile in Yaba, Amara Okonkwo hadn't slept in 48 hours. Her small apartment looked like a crime scene. Papers everywhere, photos taped to walls, documents scattered across every surface. 3 years of obsessive investigation into her best friend's conviction. Amara and Adiz had been friends since university. She'd studied journalism at University of Lagos, while Ada was at Harvard. When Adiz returned to Nigeria, they'd remained close. Amara knew her friend, knew she was incapable of murder. 10 days ago, the breakthrough finally came. Tund, the corrupt cop who'd investigated Chief Obi's murder, had been arrested for unrelated corruption charges. In his apartment, police found a black notebook, a meticulous record of every illegal deal he'd ever made. Amara had bribed a police clerk 100,000 naira, money she'd borrowed from her elderly mother, to get photocopies of that notebook. Page 47. That's where she found it. Okafor job. 50M received from CO April 15th. Cyanide acquired April 20th. Witnesses paid 5M each, 3 total. April 25th. Judge paid 30M May 10th. Final payment 95M August 5th after conviction. CO Chikwudi Okafor. Everything was there. Dates. Amounts. The entire conspiracy laid out in Tund's own handwriting. But there was a problem. The notebook was illegally obtained, inadmissible in court, without Tund's testimony. And Tund wasn't talking. Amara looked at the clock. 6:15 a.m. Ada would die at noon. She grabbed her car keys, the photocopies, and ran. 7 a.m. Ikoyi Police Station. Detective Obi was at his desk early, reviewing cold cases. He'd been on the force 23 years. He'd seen a lot, done a lot. Some things haunted him. The Adiz Okafor case was one of them. He'd been part of the investigation team 3 years ago. The evidence had seemed airtight. Cyanide in her apartment, fingerprints, witnesses. But something had always bothered him. It was too perfect, too clean. Murder cases were usually messy, contradictory. This one fit together like someone had designed it. But he'd been pressured by superiors to close it quickly. We have our killer. Don't overcomplicate it. So he'd stayed quiet. The office door burst open. A young woman, wild-eyed and desperate, rushed toward his desk. Detective Obi? I'm Amara Okonkwo. I need to talk to you about the Okafor case. Adiz Okafor. She's innocent and she's being executed today, and I have proof. Miss, that case is closed. The woman was convicted. She was framed. Amara slammed the photocopies on his desk. Look at this. This is from Tun's Black Book. He was paid to frame her. 145 million naira paid by her brother. Detective Obi picked up the pages. His face went pale as he read. Where did you get these? I bribed a clerk. I know it's illegal, but an innocent woman is about to die. Read it. It's all there. Detective Obi read every page. His hands started shaking. God help me. We convicted an innocent woman. Can you stop the execution? These copies alone won't work. We need Tun's testimony. On record, a full confession. Amara checked her watch. 7:20 a.m. Then let's go get it. We have 4 hours and 40 minutes. 8 a.m. Interrogation room. Tun was brought in handcuffed, smirking. What now? I already gave my statement on the corruption charges. My lawyer says. We found your notebook, Detective Obi said quietly. The smirk disappeared. We know about the Okafor case. About Chukwudi Okafor paying you 145 million naira to frame his sister for murder. Tun's face hardened. You can't prove anything. You're already going to prison for 20 years on the corruption charges. Amara leaned forward. But murder conspiracy? Framing an innocent woman for a crime she didn't commit? Leading to a death sentence? That's life imprisonment. Maybe the death penalty. They can't add... Unless you cooperate, Detective Obi interrupted. Full confession. Video recorded. Testify against Chukwudi Okafor. Help us save an innocent woman. And we'll talk to the prosecutor. Reduce your sentence to 10 years maximum. Witness protection. A chance at a life after prison. Tun looked between them. He was already destroyed. His career was over. His reputation ruined. He was going to prison regardless. I want it in writing. 10 years maximum sentence. Full witness protection. New identity after release. Done. Detective Obi placed a video camera on the table. Tell us everything. 9 a.m. the confession. For 45 minutes, Tun spoke. The camera recorded every word. He described meeting Chukwudi at the bar in Victoria Island. The desperate man drowning in 7 billion naira of debt. The plan to frame Adiz instead of killing her directly. Chukwudi Okafor needed his sister dead to inherit her wealth. But killing her directly was too obvious. So I suggested framing her for murder. Let the justice system execute her legally. He detailed everything. Chief Obi's murder. Planting the cyanide bottle. Paying witnesses. Bribing the judge. The meticulous conspiracy that had sent an innocent woman to death row. It was all Chukwudi's idea, Tun finished. I just provided the means. He poisoned Chief Obi himself. He planted the evidence in his sister's apartment. He testified against her in court, knowing she was innocent. He did all of it to steal her inheritance. The confession was damning, irrefutable, complete. Detective Obi immediately called the Attorney General's office. Sir, we have new evidence in the Adiz Okafor case. A full confession from the investigating officer that she was framed. She's innocent. The execution must be stopped immediately. Send me the video. Detective Obi sent it. They waited. 9:45 a.m. The Attorney General called back. This is explosive. I'm calling the prison warden directly to halt the execution. Thank you, sir. But when the Attorney General called Kirikiri Prison, the warden didn't answer. That's strange, the Attorney General said. Let me try again. 3 more calls. No answer. Sir, the warden is corrupt, Detective Obi realized suddenly. Chikwudi must have paid him off. He's not answering on purpose. Then you need to go there. Physically stop it. I'll send authorization via email, but you need to get there now. Detective Obi and Amara ran to his car. 10:30 a.m., Lagos traffic. Detective Obi's police car sped through Lagos streets, siren blaring. But it was Tuesday morning. The roads were packed. Third Mainland Bridge was a parking lot. Can't you go faster? Amara screamed. There's nowhere to go. Look at this traffic. Cars everywhere. Danfo buses. Okada motorcycles. Trucks. All barely moving. They were stuck 30 minutes from Kirikiri Prison, and it was already 10:30 a.m. 90 minutes until execution. Amara called the prison directly. This is Amara Okonkwo. I'm a Detective Obi from Lagos State Police. We have evidence that Adiz Okafor is innocent. You must stop the execution. I'm sorry. The warden's voice was cold. The execution is proceeding as scheduled. He hung up. He's definitely paid off, Detective Obi muttered. 11 a.m., still in traffic. They'd moved maybe 5 kilometers in 30 minutes. We're not going to make it, Amara whispered, tears streaming down her face. Ada's going to die. Don't say that. Don't you dare say that. Detective Obi forced his car onto the shoulder, squeezing past other vehicles. Other drivers honked and cursed. Finally, the bridge cleared. They accelerated toward Kirikiri. 11:30 a.m., Kirikiri Prison, execution chamber. Adiz was led down the long corridor in white execution clothes, her hands bound behind her back. Other death row inmates called out as she passed. Stay strong, sister. We know you're innocent. God sees everything. She entered the execution chamber, a large room with concrete walls. Witnesses sat in metal chairs, prison officials, government representatives, and Chikwudi, her brother, dressed in an expensive black suit, playing the grieving family member. Their eyes met. His face was carefully neutral, but she saw the truth underneath. He'd come to watch her die, to make sure the job was finished. The noose hung from the ceiling. Thick rope, 13 knots, precisely measured to break her neck instantly. The warden read the sentence. Adiz Okafor, you've been found guilty of the murder of Chief Obi and sentenced to death by hanging. May God have mercy on your soul. Any last words? Adiz looked directly at Chikwudi. I forgive you, brother, but God will judge you for what you've done. The truth will come out. It always does. Chikwidi's hands trembled slightly, but his face remained impassive. Father Emeka prayed, Lord, receive the soul. The executioner placed a black hood over Adiz's head. Darkness. The rough rope of the noose tightened around her neck. She whispered a final prayer. Father God, receive my spirit. Tell my father I never stopped fighting. Tell Uncle Obi I'm sorry I couldn't prove my innocence. 11:55 a.m., 5 minutes from prison. Detective Obi ran 3 red lights. Amara gripped the dashboard, praying, Please, God, please let us make it. 12 p.m., the lever. The warden nodded to the executioner. Adiz stood on the platform, noose around her neck, unable to see, waiting for the floor to drop away and her neck to snap. The executioner's hand gripped the lever. He pulled it. The mechanism activated. Clank. But the trapdoor didn't open. Mechanical jam. Adiz stood there, alive by pure chance, by mechanical failure, by what Father Emeka would later call divine intervention. What's happening? Chikwudi jumped from his seat. Mechanical malfunction, sir, a guard reported. We're working on it. The warden was furious. Fix it immediately. Guards and technicians swarmed the mechanism. 5 minutes. 8 minutes. Adiz stood there, hood over her head, noose around her neck, barely breathing, praying. Chikwudi was sweating. Something felt wrong. Why wasn't she dead yet? 12:12 p.m. The miracle. Detective Obi and Amara burst through the prison gates. Stop the execution. Amara screamed, "She's innocent." Guards tried to block them, but Detective Obi shoved past, running toward the execution chamber. The warden tried to stop them. The execution is in progress. We have orders from the Attorney General. Tun confessed. Chukwudi Okafor framed his sister. They burst into the chamber. Saw Adiz on the platform. Over her head, noose around neck. Still alive because the mechanism had jammed. Remove that noose. She's innocent. The executioner quickly untied the rope. The hood was removed. Adiz gasped, blinking in sudden light, collapsing to the platform. "You're alive," Amara sobbed, climbing up to hold her. "You're alive." Detective Obi turned to the stunned crowd. "This execution is halted by order of the Attorney General. New evidence has proven Adiz Okafor's innocence." He pointed at Chukwudi. "Chukwudi Okafor, you're under arrest for the murder of Chief Obi and conspiracy to commit murder." Chukwudi's face went white. No, this can't be happening. Tun confessed everything. We know you paid him. We know you poisoned Chief Obi. We know you framed your sister." Chukwudi tried to run. Guards tackled him to the ground. No, she was supposed to die. The mechanism should have worked. Adiz looked down at him from the platform, tears streaming. "I told you, Chukwudi. God sees everything." He was dragged away, screaming as the truth exploded around him. The perfect plan had failed. His sister lived. And his nightmare was just beginning. They made it with seconds to spare. And the execution mechanism jammed just long enough. If you believe in miracles, smash that like button and subscribe to African Tales by Zion. Drop a comment. Was that God or luck? The next chapter shows justice. What happened to Chukwudi now? Share this video. Turn on notifications. 6 months later, Lagos High Court. The courtroom was packed beyond capacity. Media crews lined the walls. Cameras pointed at the defendant's box where Chukwudi Okafor sat in prison clothes. The trial of the century. They called it. The brother who framed his sister for execution. Chukwudi looked nothing like the confident, charming man who'd attended parties in Banana Island. 6 months in Kirikiri maximum security prison had aged him 10 years. His expensive suits were gone. His hair had grayed. His eyes were hollow. He sat beside his court-appointed lawyer. His assets had been frozen. He couldn't afford private counsel and stared at the table, unable to meet anyone's gaze, especially Adiz. She sat in the front row of the gallery, beside Amara. She'd been exonerated, released, and compensated for wrongful imprisonment. But the trauma lived in her eyes. 3 years on death row had left scars no amount of money could heal. The judge entered. The state versus Chukwudi Okafor. The defendant is charged of murder in the first degree, conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, perjury, and corruption of the judicial process. How does a defendant plead? Chukwudi's lawyer stood. "Not guilty, Your Honor." The prosecution's case was devastating. Day 1. Tun's testimony. Tun took the stand in prison clothes, having already begun serving his reduced 10-year sentence. The prosecutor began. "Mr. Tun, please tell the court about your relationship with the defendant." "I met Chukwudi Okafor in April, 3 years ago, at a bar in Victoria Island. He was drunk and desperate. He owed 7 billion naira to loan sharks and was about to be killed." "What did he ask you to do?" "Initially, he considered killing his sister Adiz directly, but I told him that was too obvious. He'd be the prime suspect as the broke brother who suddenly inherits billions. So I suggested framing her for someone else's murder. Let the justice system execute her legally." A gasp rippled through the courtroom. "And did you help him do this?" "Yes. We planned Chief Obi's murder together." Chukwudi chose Chief Obi as a victim because he was close to the family. It would be believable that Adiz might have motive. Chukwudi poisoned Chief Obi himself at a restaurant. I provided the cyanide and planted evidence in Adiz's apartment. I paid witnesses to lie. I bribed the judge. All funded by Chukwudi, 145 million naira total. Why did you agree to this? Money. Chiquity paid me well. And Ton looked down because I was corrupt. I crossed so many lines in my career that one more seemed easy. But I was wrong. An innocent woman almost died because of what we did. The video of Tun's original confession was played for the jury. Every detail of the conspiracy, recorded and preserved. Day 2, financial evidence. A forensic accountant took the stand with boxes of financial records. Can you explain Mr. Okafor's financial situation 3 years ago? Chiquity Okafor inherited 30 billion naira from his father. Within 4 years, through lavish spending and poor investments, he reduced that to approximately 3 billion in assets. He owed 7 billion naira to various creditors, including dangerous loan sharks. And his sister's financial situation? Adiz Okafor managed her identical inheritance wisely. She grew her 30 billion to 42 billion through smart investments and business expansion. So the defendant had motive? Absolutely. If Adiz died and he inherited her estate, he'd receive 42 billion naira, enough to pay his debts and maintain his lifestyle. The records were entered into evidence. Bank transfers matching Tun's notebook exactly. 50 million naira to Tun in April. 30 million to an offshore account connected to the judge in May. 5 million each to 3 witnesses in April. Another 95 million to Tun after D's conviction. The conspiracy wasn't just confirmed. It was documented in painful detail. Day 3. The witnesses confess. One by one, the 3 people who testified against the D's took the stand. The waitress, the security guard, the business associate. Each told the same story. Tun had paid them 5 million naira each to lie, to claim they'd heard arguments between the D's and Chief Obi, to provide false testimony that sent an innocent woman to death row. I needed the money, the waitress cried. I had a sick child. Medical bills. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Did you actually hear Adiz Okafor arguing with Chief Obi? No, never. I'd never even seen them together. It was all lies that Tun told me to say. Day 4. Forensic reexamination. A forensic expert testified about the evidence from 3 years ago. We re-examined the cyanide bottle found in Adiz Okafor's apartment. While her fingerprints were present, we found something the original investigation missed. Partial fingerprints belonging to Chiquity Okafor on the bottom of the bottle. How did the original investigation miss this? They weren't looking for it. Once they had the victim's fingerprints and found cyanide, they stopped looking. They'd already decided she was guilty. And the brandy glass from the restaurant? Adiz Okafor's fingerprint on that glass came from a teacup transfer, a technique used to plant fingerprints. The prints were positioned unnaturally, not how someone would actually hold a glass. The defense tried to challenge the testimony, but the evidence was overwhelming. Day 5. Adiz's testimony. Adiz took the stand wearing a simple blue dress. She looked at Chiquity briefly, then looked away. The prosecutor began gently. Miss Okafor, can you describe the 3 years you spent on death row? Adiz's voice was steady, but her hands shook. Every morning, I woke up knowing that day could be my last. I heard other prisoners being executed. The preparation, the walk down the corridor, the silence afterward. I knew that was coming for me. What was the worst part? Knowing I was innocent, knowing someone had framed me, and slowly realizing it was my own brother. She looked at Chiquity now. He couldn't meet her eyes. When did you realize your brother was behind it? In the courtroom, during my trial, when I accused him and saw his face. For just a moment, his mask slipped. I saw guilt. I saw calculation. And I knew. But you had no proof? None. I screamed it in court, but everyone thought I was lying. Desperate, I was convicted and sent to death row with the knowledge that my own brother had done this to me. Can you describe execution day? Adiz's voice broke. They led me to the chamber, put a hood over my head, placed a noose around my neck. I felt the rope tighten. I said my final prayers. Then I heard the lever pull, felt the mechanism activate. She couldn't continue. Tears streamed down her face. But you survived. The mechanism jammed. I don't know why. Father Emeka says it was divine intervention. All I know is I was seconds from death. And in those seconds, the truth arrived. The courtroom was silent, except for the sound of people crying. What would you like to say to your brother now? Adiz looked at Chikwudi for a long moment. I would have helped you if you'd asked, if you'd been honest about your debts, your problems. I would have given you money, helped you recover, because we're family. Because Father would have wanted us to support each other. Her voice hardened. Instead, you murdered an innocent man who loved you. You framed me for his death. You let me suffer on death row for 3 years. You came to watch me hang. She stood up. I forgive you, Chikwudi, not for your sake, but for mine, because hate almost killed me in that cell, and I won't let it win now. But you deserve every consequence coming your way. She sat down. Chikwudi was crying silently. Day 6. Chikwidi's testimony. Against his lawyer's advice, Chikwudi insisted on testifying. He took the stand, voice hoarse. Everything they've said is true. I did it. All of it. His lawyer tried to stop him, but Chikwudi continued. I was drowning in debt, in shame. Everyone compared me to Ada, how smart she was, how responsible, how successful, while I was the family disappointment, the wasteful son who squandered billions. I couldn't face asking her for help. My pride wouldn't let me. So when Tun suggested framing her instead of killing her directly, it seemed cleaner, legal. She'd die through the justice system, and I'd inherit everything. No one would suspect me. Did you consider the consequences? Not really. I was desperate. Desperate people make terrible choices. He looked at Adiz. Ada, I'm sorry. I know that's worthless now. I know sorry doesn't undo 3 years of hell. Doesn't bring back Chief Obi. Doesn't erase what I did. But I want you to know I was weak. I was a coward. I let jealousy and shame destroy what was good in me. I murdered a man who loved me like a father. I tried to murder my own sister through the law. I deserve whatever punishment this court gives me. The verdict, after 2 days of deliberation, the jury returned. On the charge of murder in the first degree, guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, guilty. On the charge of obstruction of justice, guilty. On the charge of perjury, guilty. On the charge of corruption of judicial process, guilty. The judge spoke solemnly. Chikwudi Okafor, this court finds you guilty of one of the most heinous crimes imaginable. You murdered an innocent man who trusted you. You framed your own sister for that murder. You corrupted our justice system and nearly caused the execution of an innocent woman. The sentence of this court is death by hanging. Chikwudi stood as guards handcuffed him. He looked at Adiz one final time. I'm sorry, Ada. She said nothing as he was led away to the same death row where she'd spent 3 years. 1 year later, Adiz stood in her new office at the Chief Obi Justice Foundation. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lagos. On her desk sat a photo of her father and Chief Obi, both smiling. Since her exoneration, she'd poured her energy into the foundation. The Nigerian government had compensated her 500 million naira for wrongful imprisonment. She'd used it all, plus 2 billion from her own estate, to fund the foundation. Their mission: provide free legal defense for wrongly convicted Nigerians. Review every death row case. Fight for justice. In 1 year, they'd freed 8 innocent people from death row, 8 lives saved, 8 families reunited. Amara served as lead investigator, using her journalism skills to uncover truth. A knock on the door. Her assistant. Ma, there's someone here to see you. From Kirikiri prison. Adiz's stomach tightened. She knew who it was before the guard brought the message. Chikwudi wanted to see her before his execution, scheduled for tomorrow. She considered refusing. She'd already forgiven him in court. What more could she say? But something pulled her to Kirikiri. Death row that afternoon. Chikwudi looked like a ghost. Prison had destroyed him. He sat across from Adiz in the visiting room, separated by thick glass. Why did you come? He asked quietly. I don't know. They sat in silence for a moment. Tomorrow they hang me, Chikwudi said, the same way I try to hang you. Poetic justice, I suppose. Is that what you wanted to tell me? No. I wanted to tell you that you're doing good work. The Foundation. Saving innocent people. Chief Obi would be proud. Father would be proud. Don't talk about them. You don't get to talk about them. You're right. I'm sorry. He looked at his hands. Ada, do you think God forgives people like me? I don't know. That's between you and God. But you forgave me. Why? Adiz was quiet for a long moment. Because I had to. Because carrying that hate was killing me. Because forgiveness isn't for you. It's for me. It doesn't erase what you did. Doesn't mean you don't deserve punishment. But it means I'm free of you. That's more grace than I deserve. Yes, it is. She stood to leave. Ada, wait. One last thing. She turned. In the last year, in this cell, I've had time to think about everything. And I realized something. You didn't just lose a brother when I did this. You lost a dream of family. The hope that blood means something. I destroyed that for you. Tears filled his eyes. And I'm sorrier for that than anything else. Adiz looked at him for a long moment. Goodbye, Chikwudi. She walked out of prison into the Lagos sunlight and never looked back. 18 months after Adiz's exoneration, Chikwudi's execution was carried out at noon on a Tuesday. Adiz didn't attend. She was at her foundation, helping a young man from Enugu who'd been wrongly convicted of robbery. Father Emeka was there as Chikwudi's spiritual advisor. He reported later that Chikwudi's last words were, "Tell Ada I'm sorry. Tell Chief Obi I'm sorry. Tell God I'm sorry." The system that almost killed Adiz had killed her brother instead. Justice had been served, but it tasted bitter. 2 years after exoneration, Adiz stood before a crowd of 500 at the Nigerian Bar Association conference. Behind her, a screen showed the Foundation's accomplishments. 15 innocent people freed from death row, 32 wrongful convictions overturned, 200 pro bono cases defended, prison reform legislation passed. I stood on an execution platform with a noose around my neck, she told the audience. Seconds from death for a crime I didn't commit. My own brother put me there. The truth came out, but barely. If not for a jam mechanism, if not for one journalist who wouldn't give up, if not for one detective who'd always had doubts, I would be dead. An innocent woman executed by the state. How many others weren't so lucky? How many innocent people have died because the system failed them? Because no one questioned the evidence? Because no one fought for them? Her voice strengthened. That's why this foundation exists. To be the voice for the voiceless. To fight for those who can't fight for themselves. To make sure what happened to me never happens to anyone else. Because the truth always matters. Justice always matters. And every life is worth fighting for. Standing ovation. Tears. Hope. Adiz had transformed her nightmare into purpose. Her near-death into a mission to save lives. She'd inherited her full estate, now worth 50 billion naira. Her businesses thrived. She was engaged to a human rights lawyer she'd met through the foundation. But her greatest inheritance was the one she'd given herself. Freedom from hate, commitment to justice, and a determination to build something meaningful from tragedy. As she left the stage, Amara hugged her. Ada, you did it. You turned the worst thing that ever happened to you into something beautiful. Adiz smiled. Chief Obi used to say that our character is revealed not in success, but in how we respond to injustice. I think he'd be proud. Your father, too. Yes, my father, too. That night, Adiz visited Chief Obi's grave. She laid white roses at the headstone. Uncle Obi, I couldn't save you, but I'm saving others in your name. The truth came out. Justice was served. And I'm finally free. She stood in the quiet cemetery as the sun set over Lagos, a survivor who became a warrior, a victim who became a champion. The system had tried to kill her. Now she was using that same system to save lives. And in that work, she'd found redemption, not for her brother, but for herself. Wow! From death row to billionaire justice warrior, Chikwudi got the exact punishment he tried to give her. If justice gives you chills, smash that like button and subscribe to African Tales by Zion. Drop a comment. Did she do the right thing for giving him? This story proves truth always wins, no matter how long it takes. She almost died, but now she's saving lives. Share this with everyone who believes in justice. The system is broken, but people like Adiz are fixing it. Turn on notifications for more African Tales by Zion